The sign showed up on a Tuesday afternoon. Not in a church. Not in a hospital. But printed at the bottom of a pharmacy receipt. Emily almost threw it away. She had done that before. Thrown away hope before it could grow. But this time something felt different. Her name appeared twice. Then 3 small symbols sat beside it. She stared at the paper in silence. The cashier had already moved on. The line behind her shuffled forward. Emily folded the receipt slowly. Like it might fall apart. Like she might. Because for over 10 years, her body had stayed quiet. And now something was speaking. Emily and Daniel had been married 11 years. They lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Chicago. Maple trees lined their street. Kids rode bikes past their driveway. Their home looked full from the outside. Warm lights. Fresh paint. Seasonal wreaths on the door. But upstairs was a bedroom no one used. Soft gray walls. A white crib they bought too early. They stopped opening that door. Not because it hurt. Because it exhausted them. Emily learned to answer questions gently. Not yet, she would say. With a practiced smile. Daniel never blamed her. That made it harder. Every year they tried again. Doctor visits. Supplements. Careful calendars. Every year ended the same way. A quiet drive home. Hands held tightly. No words. They loved each other deeply. But disappointment can sit at the table too. And it had stayed a long time. Emily had only gone to refill a prescription. Nothing emotional. Nothing symbolic. She paid and grabbed the small paper. Then paused. Her full name printed twice. That was strange. Then 3 tiny circles appeared beside the second line. Clean. Evenly spaced. She turned the receipt over. Nothing. She checked the bag. No ink. No stamp. Her heart began to beat faster. Not excited. Cautious. She did not chase signs. She believed in doctors. She believed in data. But she also believed in God. Quietly. Privately. And something in her chest whispered, "Don't toss this." So she folded it carefully and slipped it into her purse. That evening, Emily placed the receipt on the kitchen island. Daniel looked up from his laptop. He saw her face first. Then the paper. "What am I looking at?" he asked softly. She pointed at the duplicate name. Then the 3 circles. Daniel leaned closer. He did not laugh. "That's odd," he said. Then quieter, "That's specific." Emily crossed her arms tightly. "I don't want to make it something," she said. Daniel nodded slowly. "I know." They stood in silence for a moment. The refrigerator hummed. The house felt still. "What if it's nothing?" she asked. "What if it's not?" he replied. Hope had become dangerous territory. They had stepped there before. It left bruises. Still, Daniel picked up the receipt carefully. Like it meant something. And neither of them threw it away. A few days later, Emily sat in a clinic waiting room. She wasn't sick. Just restless. An older woman sat across from her. Silver hair. Kind eyes. The woman studied her quietly. Then smiled. "You look like you're holding on to something," she said gently. Emily forced a polite smile. "We all are," she answered. The woman tilted her head. "Some things folded are invitations," she replied. Emily felt a chill run through her arms. The woman stood slowly. She adjusted her purse strap. Before walking away, she added one sentence. 3 is not a mistake. Then she left. Emily sat frozen. Her purse felt heavy on her lap. She had told no one about the receipt. Not even her sister. Yet here was a stranger. Speaking numbers out loud. Emily's pulse would not slow. That night, Emily and Daniel sat on the living room floor. No music. No candles. Just carpet and quiet. The receipt lay between them. Daniel exhaled slowly. "God, we're tired," he said. He didn't try to sound strong. He didn't try to sound wise. "We don't want false hope," he continued. "We want truth." Emily pressed her palms together. Her words were smaller. "If this is you," she whispered, "make it clear." A tear fell onto the paper. The ink stayed firm. They waited for something dramatic. Thunder. A sign in the sky. Nothing happened. But peace slipped into the room. Subtle. Real. And that felt new. That night, Emily dreamed she stood in a hallway. White walls. Soft light. At the end was a small bench. On the bench sat 3 tiny pairs of sneakers. White. Untied. They were lined up perfectly. Emily knelt to touch them. They felt warm. Behind her a voice spoke. Not loud. Not commanding. "Make room." She turned quickly. No one stood there. She woke with her hand on her stomach. Her room was still. Daniel slept beside her. Unaware. Emily lay there staring at the ceiling. Receipts can glitch. Strangers can guess. Dreams can mislead. But this felt layered. Intentional. And she whispered into the dark, "Okay." Emily waited before buying a test. Hope had a history of betrayal. When she finally stood in the bathroom, her hands trembled. She told herself it was routine. Just confirmation. She set the test on the counter, then looked away. When she glanced back, 2 lines stared up at her. Clear. Unmistakable. She covered her mouth. Her knees buckled slightly. She sat on the edge of the tub. Tears came fast. Heavy. Uncontrolled. Daniel heard her crying and rushed in. He froze when he saw the test. He didn't speak. He just held her. "Thank you," he whispered. Over and over. For the first time in years. The upstairs room did not feel like a graveyard. But the story wasn't finished. The ultrasound room felt clinical and bright. Emily lay back quietly. The technician moved the wand slowly. Her eyes narrowed at the screen. She adjusted her angle, then leaned closer. Daniel squeezed Emily's hand. The technician cleared her throat. "Have you had fertility treatment?" she asked. "No," Emily replied. The technician stared again, then smiled carefully. "I'm seeing more than one heartbeat." Emily's chest tightened. "How many?" Daniel asked. The technician paused. 3. The word hung in the air. Emily turned her head toward the screen. 3 flickering rhythms. 3 lives. Daniel covered his face. A broken laugh escaped him. Emily whispered softly, 3 is not a mistake. And suddenly the receipt made sense. Joy did not cancel fear. Triplets meant risk. More appointments. More monitoring. More unknowns. Some nights Emily lay awake praying silently. Not for wealth. Not for comfort. Just for protection. Daniel assembled 3 cribs upstairs. Slowly. Carefully. They painted the room again. Soft cream this time. Hope no longer felt reckless. It felt sacred. The delivery room was filled with calm urgency. Doctors moved with focus. Daniel stood near Emily's shoulder. His eyes never left her face. Then came the first cry. Strong. Clear. Then another. Then a third. 3 small voices filled the room. Emily wept openly. Daniel could not stop smiling. The nurses laid 3 tiny bundles near her. 3. Not a mistake. Months later, the once empty room overflowed. 3 cribs. Soft blankets. Gentle chaos. Emily stood in the doorway one afternoon. Daniel beside her. For years, silence lived here. Now laughter echoed off the walls. She thought about the receipt. The stranger. The dream. God had never shouted. He printed. He whispered. He confirmed. Miracles don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they slip into ordinary moments. Printed in small ink. Spoken by strangers. If this story stirred something in you, pause for a second. Some stories stay with us for a reason. If you've ever waited longer than expected, don't lose heart. And if this reminded you that hope is still alive, you're welcome to like the video. You can subscribe if you want more stories like this. There are also faith-building books and resources in the description. Because sometimes the sign appears unexpectedly. And sometimes it changes everything.